And it's another episode, number 4 here for From Hoods to Backwoods podcast. Hold on, let me start to do that one again. All right, we're here with episode number 4 of From Hoods to Backwoods. No.
God damn, son.
I can't do it this time. Here we go. All right, it's episode 4 from Hoods to Hoods to Backwoods. I need to get it out one time. Is the problem? No, we're actually gonna have outtakes probably this time.
All right. That's some funny shit, bro.
Right. Okay.
Come on. Well, at least thank God we can at least edit.
Right, yeah, exactly. This is all useless.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go now. This time, really.
All right, make sure you're focused, Obi-Wan.
Right.
From Hoods to Backwoods podcast. Welcome to the show.
All right, here we are from Hoods to Backwoods podcast, episode number 4. And today we're going to be talking about some movies, some things that you may have seen, may not have seen, but we're going to school you, that's for sure. What do you think about there, LaFawn?
Hell yeah, we're going to school. I mean, I love talking about movies. Like I said, from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, 2000, 2010s, we got you covered on the podcast.
Yeah, and we're not going to talk about or show any of the movies that his mom was in.
Well, that would be no movies then.
I'll edit that out. Anyway, okay.
That's all good.
All right, so like we were saying, we're going to be covering some movies here. We're going to have a little bit different list, the two of us, as far as the types of movies that we're going to cover. But the other thing, too, is I'll get into it now. I haven't really watched too many movies after 2010, just for the simple fact that I started watching streaming and all sorts of other things. I definitely appreciate some newer movies, but it's a few and far in between for me now.
And like I said, I understand when you start streaming's already coming out, there's a whole lot of different things that was on streaming, but like I said, at the end of the day, nothing beats a good old movie.
Right? Or a good new movie.
Exactly.
So I'll let you kick it off here, since you're more the movie person than I am. I'll let you kick it off with your list from the 70s. What did you pick?
All right. So first in the 70s, I got to go with Jaws. So that's the first movie I want to talk about is Jaws. I said when you watch that's the first scary movie that was made where you were afraid to swim in the ocean after you watched it because you're afraid a shark was going to eat you. So that's the first movie that I want to bring in the 70s. Second one, Halloween. John Carpenter's first movie that he made, and like I said, it's a great movie. Definitely made you afraid of being home at night, worrying about slashers outside, okay? Third thing, movie is Alien. And I said, no one can hear you scream in outer space, son. Okay? That's all I'm saying. But that movie was that movie really terrified me when I was a kid. Like I couldn't even finish it. The first time I tried watching it, I was like 9 years old, and it scared the living crap out of me. Now I'm talking about literally. You can cut that part out. Honorable mention for me in the 70s would be none other than Rocky.
Yeah, that's a solid movie for sure.
Like I said, that changed the whole boxing landscape. Even though it was not a real fighter in the real world, but once you watch Rocky, it definitely brought boxing up, and everybody started watching boxing from that point going forward. What about your movies from the 70s, son?
I'm just curious, did Rocky make you drink raw eggs?
No, and I would never do that. I don't care how much protein you want. I'm not cracking open 4 eggs in a glass and then just drink them like that. Hell no. Egg yolks, that shit was great. I couldn't even believe he did that. That's some gross shit. No.
Yeah, that was kind of one of those things back in the days that people would do that Yeah, won't be doing now for sure. Did you try to go beat up a side of beef too?
Yeah, I went into a meat locker and I was all like, it's too cold in here. I'm out, son.
That's because all you brought with you was a leather jacket.
Exactly. I can't believe that, again, he, like, when you think you would get salmonella from drinking raw eggs like that? I mean, come on.
I
That's just
guess
crazy.
because I don't know. I definitely could be wrong, and a disclaimer: don't do that. But
Oh,
maybe
hell
it was a
no.
little bit, maybe it was a little different back then because the things were a little more natural, and I don't know. Maybe the processing was different, but either way, not gonna be doing it.
Hell no. I would never be doing that.
Yeah, you mentioned the Jaws thing. The funny thing for me about Jaws is I've never actually seen the whole thing all the way through. I've just seen bits and pieces of it.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I don't know, never sat down to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, like I said, the only good one is the first one. That's it. The original. All the other Jaws movies are just straight garbage. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And the funniest one was Jaws 3D when that came out. And yeah, that was the first time that you get to see Jaws in 3D, which was the funniest thing ever. And then the writing, that was so bad, and the whole movie was just terrible.
Just to jump around a little bit, not too much, hopefully, but jump around to Halloween too. I don't know. Do you know who PJ Souls is?
No, I do not.
All right, she's one of the actresses that gets killed in the movie. Spoiler alert from a movie from the 70s. So she was also in Rock and Roll High School, which if you're not familiar with that, it's a cheesy movie with the Ramones in it. It's just kind of funny, one of those cheesy movies you just have to watch,
Right.
especially if you like the Ramones. But anyway, so yeah, she was in Halloween. Little movie trivia for you and / music trivia.
The original Halloween.
Yeah, she was in the original
Oh.
Halloween movie.
So who was she
PJ
in there?
Souls.
What character was
I
she?
don't remember her name, but she was the one that went topless and also died. If that helps narrow it down.
Oh, well then there you go. So what movies do you got for the 70s, son?
Well, I have to kick it off strong with my favorite comedy of all time, which is Blazing Saddles. A lot of people talk about how, that movie couldn't get made today. Yeah, pretty much. But the funny thing to me about it is how many people don't get it in a way that it was intentionally supposed to be goofy, and it's not intended to be offensive as much as it is satire and making fun of people that are, racist or not fully aware of changes that can be made in the world. So yeah, I think it's really funny. It still, even to this day, has some classic jokes in it. My dad and I joke about it. He even had as his notification on his cell phone for a long time, he had the line, "Where the white women at?" That was on his cell phone. So he would be at the bank or whatever, standing in line, all of a sudden you hear, "Where the white women at?"
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah, that's my dad. That's just how he is. But yeah, it's something I can watch countless times. It's probably is the movie I've seen the most. Just whenever I catch it, I just sit there and watch it. This is kind of a cheesy answer, but I really couldn't avoid it. Star Wars: A New Hope, Episode 4.
Great choice.
Yeah, it's just growing up around that time with Star Wars and all that as a kid, and that being the movie that started that whole thing and really changed so many things about cinema and sci-fi. And I still like those types of effects myself. What's that?
And you still want a lightsaber?
I have a lightsaber. It's not a real one, but of course. But yeah, this past Halloween, I had my lightsaber out there. I went instead of a Jedi Knight, I had a bathrobe and a coffee mug and a lightsaber. I went as a Jedi morning. So
That's
I'll
funny.
throw a picture on here probably when I do some editing.
That's right.
So yeah, Star Wars just changed a lot of things. I had the original Star Wars action figures also when I was a kid, and my cousin either I don't know, he did something with them. Either way, I no longer have them. I do have actually, and I'll try to find it too. From that time, an original Darth Vader. It's like a helmet, but it's a carrying case for action figures. I still have that too.
Oh, nice.
So I
You
do
should put it
have
on
at
eBay.
least something from that time. I'll hold on to it for now, but yeah, maybe someday I'll do something with it. So, but yeah, my kids fortunately are kind of at the age where they're starting to get Star Wars and get into a little bit, so that's kind of fun to see. But yeah, it's a big part of my life. Enter the Dragon was another movie from the 70s. Martial arts, especially growing up, was something I was always interested in. And my cousin kind of helped introduce me to Bruce Lee. He was really into Bruce Lee and had all the Bruce Lee Jeet Kune Do instructional books that Bruce Lee wrote about his martial arts style. So yeah, it was just watching it. Of course, when you're a kid, you're watching it, you're just like, oh, they're fighting and he cut him and all this other stuff.
Right.
But actually understanding the story and things like that when you get older is kind of interesting.
So did you try to do any of the moves that Bruce Lee did in the movie?
Oh, of course. I had my toy nunchucks when I was a kid. Fortunately, that were padded, or I would have had plenty of concussions, I'm sure. So,
Right.
yeah, I was all into it.
Oh yeah, like I said, that was a good movie, especially that scene where all the mirrors are and he's fighting that dude that keeps coming through the mirrors. So, I thought it was pretty good. And then is that also the one where he fights Chuck?
Please check out From Hoods to Backwoods podcast, full episodes on YouTube for bonus video content that you can see. Well, of course you can see it, because it's video. Just search for hashtag FHTB podcast and enjoy the extra content at no additional charge. That is, unless you want to hook us up with some money. Thanks.
Yeah, there's the scene is like a Coliseum thing. Yeah, where they're fighting. It is funny too. I don't want to give. If for some reason somebody hasn't seen it, I don't want to give away too much. But yeah, if you're familiar with Chuck Norris and have heard the Chuck Norris jokes and things like that, he's famous actor, famous for, especially back then, starting off with his martial arts. But yeah, they fight in the movie, and Bruce Lee handles his business.
Yep, that's what I thought. I thought that was a movie that don't see fought in. But the Chuck Norris jokes are just too funny.
Yeah, no, there's some good ones. I like when I see new ones that I haven't seen before. You know, there's some recycled ones you see all the time. You're like, okay,
Right.
come up with something new. It was hard to come up with a honorable mention because there were really two, and I was going back and forth. And since my list only goes up to the 2000s, I'll cheat here a little bit on this one. But I couldn't really decide between Willy Wonka because Gene Wilder is one of my favorite actors. Yes, gotta get that golden ticket.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just funny, especially as I've gotten older, seeing him kind of be just crazy, the way he goes about stuff, and it's just a classic movie. It's a good, entertaining, creepy / funny. You know, he has the weird moments where he goes, on that boat and all the lights are going crazy off his face, and he's talking completely insane. And then, of course, the parts where the kids get themselves in trouble So it's just funny seeing the newer versions are okay, but definitely don't compare anything to the original version of Willy Wonka and what Gene Wilder did.
Right, right.
So, the other one I couldn't help not mention, especially since I'll give you a little peek ahead. I didn't really surprisingly have too many horror movies. I was expecting to have more horror movies on my list, but Dawn of the Dead I had to include because I definitely like George Romero and his movies. And I just remember seeing it, and now you look at it, it's kind of cheesy, but some of those effects, especially for that time,
Oh yeah.
it really had a lot to do with how they did effects for a long time in Hollywood. So yeah, that was interesting movie. I do actually like the remake too. That's one of the few remake movies that I like. The later on version of Dawn of the Dead they had, but the original is still my favorite.
Oh yeah, definitely. You can't go wrong with that. That's a nice little list right there for the 70s, sir. Nice job. Starts off with the 80s.
Yeah, for the 80s, it was a little tough, being into music, trying not to pick too many music movies because they had some really great music movies in the 80s. So I'll kick it off with a non-music movie. I'll go with Batman. That's one of the first movies I can remember telling my dad that I wanted to go see, and he actually took me to go see it, and I picked the movie. Especially when you were a kid back then in the 80s. You pretty much saw whatever your parents wanted to see or what they were willing to go see.
That's true.
So, yeah, my dad even told me afterwards, I wanted to go see Major League because the movie Major League came out basically at the same time. But fortunately for me, he took me to go see Batman. He liked it too. So, and it was one of the first major Hollywood movies to kind of kick off the whole superhero thing since Superman came out before. But, there'd been some time where all the superhero movies kind of died off. So it kind of brought it back in a good way. And this is, well before all the Marvel stuff took off. So yeah, the Batman, the acting, everything. Bonus was Prince did the music for the soundtrack.
So, right, it was a good soundtrack. And Tim Burton was the director.
Yeah. And since I guess I'm on that topic, Purple Rain is my next one. The Prince movie. It just was something that really inspired me to get into music, and especially seeing the live performances that he did. I mean, it was pretty crazy how much energy he had on stage, and there was a good story to it also. It wasn't just about one big music video, and
or just
riding on there too,
or just riding on the motorcycle.
Yeah, out by the lake.
Yeah,
I'll leave that one alone. But yeah, no, shout out to Morris Day. He was really funny in that movie. Time is one of my favorite bands too. So it was great seeing, these great musicians, great bands performing, not just musically, but also just acting or just being funny and things like that in the movie itself.
Right.
So Purple Rain was a game changer. Full Metal Jacket. Now, I know we've discussed this before.
Yes, we have.
It's almost like watching two movies.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the first part of the movie, I guess you can say, or first section of the movie where they're going through their training and stuff like that. That's my favorite part of the movie. The second half, or what's that?
When they're in boot camp.
Yeah. That part is great. The drill sergeant.
Yes.
Some of the stuff he says. Yeah, again, you couldn't get away with that stuff today. He kept it real in his own way. Yeah. Great characters. Just crazy story as far as all the stuff that happens. And then after that, when they leave the training and all that, then the story is still not bad, but it's not. I don't know. The movie just has a way different feel to it.
I can't agree with you more. Like I said, the first half is an amazing part of the movie. Second half, it feels like you said, a completely whole different movie, and I thought it sucked. I'm just gonna be honest. I thought the second half just sucked. Like I don't understand.
There's some.
Yeah, I've never seen where a movie can be so good, and then the second half just suck. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, it takes a turn. There's still some famous parts in the second half
Well,
that are
famous one-liners. Yes, there's some famous
there's
one-liners.
a famous line in there. If you're not sure what we're talking about or not familiar, just go watch the movie Full Metal Jacket.
Exactly.
You'll hear the line. But yeah, that is Stanley Kubrick's one of my favorite directors too in general. So I'll throw that out there. That's a part of some of the movies that made my list, or some of my favorite directors. Tim Burton is another one. I'll have a few more coming up here. Other than that, my honorable mention.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, you said Stanley Kubrick. You said Stanley Kubrick was the director you like. So
yeah, Stanley Kubrick.
He made that one famous horror movie.
Stanley Kubrick did
right?
Clockwork Orange. Is that the one you're talking about? Clockwork Orange?
No, the one that Stephen King wrote. The one that Stephen King wrote.
Oh, The Shining.
Yes. I'm surprised that's not on your list. Or honorable mention.
Yeah, it's no. The Shining is a great movie, and Jack Nicholson's one of my favorite actors. He's in Batman. He'll come up again later on.
Right.
No, The Shining is a great movie for sure. And yeah, Stanley Kubrick. It's just I don't know. There's so much competition in the 70s for me. So many other movies I've rewatched so many times.
Right.
So a lot of the movies, that I've listed here, I've seen. I don't know how many times. I've lost track because I've watched them. If they're on TV. Or if I haven't seen.
Because you said you were talking about horror movies. That's why the only reason I was bringing that up. Because when you said that director, that's what made me think of The Shining. So.
Yeah, like I said, it surprised me that I had less horror movies on my list. I was really expecting to have more, but yeah, I just thought of it in terms of how many times I've seen the movies or what they kind of meant to me or how they've changed the industry. There are a few different things I gauged on for my list. So,
I gotcha.
This next one is definitely my honorable mention's a personal one from the 80s. La Bamba.
La Bamba.
Being Mexican in the 80s growing up, that's a movie I saw in the theater. That's how old I am. And it was just interesting because you see characters in there that, for me, I could relate to or reminded me of relatives. And so it was funny, but La Bamba was huge.
It's a good movie.
I'll just flat out. Yeah, no, it's just a really good movie, and I will say I don't have Selena on my list, but I do like that movie a lot, and I definitely listen to her music. It just didn't quite make this list.
So were you trying to be like Lou Diamond Phillips back in the day then?
No, but it's funny because in high school playing, walking around playing my guitar and stuff like that, people would always ask, "Do you play La Bamba?" It was either they asked me to play La Bamba or they asked me to play Santana. So,
well, that's what I'm saying, because that's what I'm saying, because he was the main character, right? Back in La Bamba, right?
Yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He played Richie Valens. If you're not familiar with that story, it's a great story in general, but definitely watch the movie. It's not just about the music for sure.
No, I agree. It's definitely good. For my 80s, I'm going to start off with, I know I brought it up in the 70s, but I got to go with Aliens. I mean, that hands down is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I said, just the way that it was directed, the way it shot, the story, just everything about the action in it. like seeing Marines go in to fight aliens was just amazing story behind that. Because how many times have you ever heard "Game over, man"? Game over. The famous lines are, they only come out at night, mostly. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know. Like I said, it just got so many one-liners that are so good. And like that, to me, that definitely changed, the whole franchise going forward on that. Second one would be Terminator. Now, I thought that was a game changer back in the day, too. In the 80s, like watching Terminator. And I said, I know that's how, just watching, machines fight against, humans and the AI, and, like how we're all like, is AI ever going to take over? You know what I'm saying? I just thought it was a good movie back then. And, like I said, there's definitely not many one-liners in that one, but there's a couple. There's definitely a couple that you remember. Third on my list would be Predator. Now, that one I thought was really good, too. And granted, these are, 3 horror movies in a row, right? But, like I said, I just thought it was a good time back then for horror movies. And like I said, Predator, to me, was, like I said, watching, a group of people fighting an alien unknown, species that you never seen before in the jungle, and all these guys are supposed to be badass, and then they just get taken out. Like, it was awesome. And then,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I figured you would take care of the horror stuff too, so I figure our list. I didn't see your list before we did this, so I figured I'd balance things out. Not intentionally, I just figured naturally it would happen, which it did.
It definitely did. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, like I just thought them 3 movies in the 80s were just excellent and excellently done. And then honorable mention for me, it would be, I would have to go with Empire Strikes Back. I just thought it was better than the original, to be honest.
No, it is. I was gonna have it on my list, but I didn't want to have Star Wars in 2 different decades.
No, I hear you, but it's hard. Like, that's the same reason why I have Aliens, because they're just that good. Like, so I can see I can see you putting both on your list, because Empire Strikes Back, the famous line on that, "I am your father." No.
Yeah, and it's just funny to me, especially over the years, how many people get the phrase wrong or the quote wrong. You always hear people say, "Luke, I am your father," which is not what he says. He says, "No, I am your father." So,
exactly.
Yeah, hearing people misquote it a lot. People don't say it wrong as often now because, so many people have raised the stink about it and mentioned. But you used to hear people say it all the time. I remember people used to say, "Luke," it was even in the movie, was it Tommy Boy or Black Sheep? One of those. I think it was Tommy Boy.
Oh, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, people definitely quote it for sure. No, Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. And that's why it's just kind of funny that this is funny I didn't have it on the list, but I was trying to look at a little bit different criteria, and the 80s were a little bit packed for me. So, make some tough decisions. But I understand having Alien twice. Make your heart or other things jump out your chest.
That, exactly. I mean, that's like one of the best scenes ever. Like I said, that chest burster scene when you're 8 years old is intense. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but Empire Strikes Back, like I said, that's my favorite Star Wars movie. And like I said, when you're a kid and you're watching that, I mean, everybody wants to be Luke. Everybody wants to get a lightsaber. everybody wants to fight, Darth Vader. And, then when you get older and you find out that there is no real lightsabers, you're like, what? Man.
I I definitely had the hood version back in the day. They had an electronics store that would sell it. It actually was a flashlight with a plastic white tube on it.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
That's back in the 80s. That's what we had.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
So
Good
yeah, it was
80s.
funny because you could screw off that plastic tube and then you just had a flashlight.
Right.
Multi-use.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So I had that was my first lightsaber.
Nice. So starting off in the 90s, I might have to go with The Matrix. Man, I thought that movie was amazing. Definitely a game changer on the way special effects were. And like I said, storytelling. And I just thought it was an excellent movie when it was made. I was just amazed when I watched it. And then I probably watched it 3 or 4 times in the theater because I had never seen anything like that. So I thought it was a really good movie. Next would be Goodfellas. Now, I thought that was a great movie. Great storytelling about, the mob and how, they, took over and, how, what happens if you go against the mob and all that good stuff. And I just thought it was really good. And you definitely didn't want to mess with Joe Pesci in that movie, okay? Third one I would have to go with is Shawshank Redemption. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, I thought that was a great movie and great storytelling. And like I said, when I don't give too much away, but at the end, how they come back and they show you how he was able to get out of jail was amazing, and how the whole thing tied together. I thought it was done really well. Fourth one, my honorable mention, I had to go with Scream. I thought it was just a very good Wes Craven movie, that he made, going outside the box. A lot of people probably didn't want to answer their phone after they watched that movie because they didn't want to play. They didn't want to play a game with someone calling saying, "What's your favorite scary movie?" But I thought it was really well done, and I liked how it had the twist at the end, and no one had seen a slasher movie like that before. So I thought it was cool how he went outside the box to make a new slasher, movie. So
Yeah,
they were my 4 for the 90s,
Yeah, definitely a solid lineup there. I was thinking about Goodfellas. That absolutely is one of my favorite movies. It was hard to leave off the list. It just had too much competition because I actually have my favorite movie of all time was in the 90s. So I couldn't move that one off. And that's As Good as It Gets. It's
Jack Nicholson?
It was, yeah, exactly. It was Jack Nicholson again. I mean, it's a sort of known movie, but it's not a really famous movie. It's not really something that everybody's seen.
I've seen it, son.
Yeah, no, I figure you would. You definitely have seen your share of movies. But most people, if I mention it, they won't know what I'm talking about. So, it's just him and his character. It's kind of funny seeing he's living by himself, and he's kind of off and doesn't want to deal with people. He's not very personable, so he's not easy to talk to or anything like that. He just kind of wants to live his life and be a writer, and that's it. And through some different circumstances, he has to interact with other people, and watching him learn how to interact with other people and get people involved in his life that he's not used to being around from, different backgrounds and things like that. It's just kind of funny seeing him interact and just learn how to be more aware of how other people are around him. And yeah, it's just a really good movie. all the characters and the writing and things like that. So that's my favorite movie of all time. Absolutely recommend it to anybody. Again, it's one of those movies, if you don't really understand the context, there can be some things in there that people might be offended by or think is harsh that he says. But again, at the end of the movie, you see that he learns how people are receptive to what he tells them or what he says to them. So there's a point to it. They're not saying it just to say it or for shock value. There's a reason. After that, I have Robin Hood Men in Tights. Mel Brooks, my favorite director again. He's my favorite director of all time. And it's just a really funny movie. It has a very young Dave Chappelle in it. So
Very young.
It's kind of funny seeing, it's funny seeing that. But yeah, just a lot of funny scenes, funny lines. There's even a mention towards the end of the movie about Dave Chappelle being a black sheriff, and he's talking about how it worked in Blazing Saddles. So you have to watch both those movies now, Blazing Saddles and Robin Hood Men in Tights, so you can get that joke and get what it's all about. That's just a great comedy. Of course, you have to be into that style of comedy, but it's fun sometimes to just watch something you don't have to think too deeply about.
Right.
Third on the list,
Well,
Dogma.
Robin Hood Men. I was gonna say Robin
Go
Hood
ahead.
Men in Tights. The main character the main character playing that movie in
Princess
the
Bride?
80s. Yes, Princess Bride. Yes.
Yeah. The main lead in Robin Hood Men in Tights was also the lead in Princess Bride, and I'm sorry I forgot his name offhand. I do know it somewhere in the back of my head, but I'll throw up on the screen when I do the editing. Sorry about that. Great performance. You're a great actor. He's really funny in that too, because delivering your lines so seriously in such a goofy comedy, it really makes it work.
Sure.
Yeah. So number 3 I have is Dogma, a movie by Kevin Smith. And this really, really sad thing about this movie is you can't watch it unless you have a copy of it on DVD, which I do have. It's a long story. I'm not going to really get into it, but it got caught up in legal rights, so it's not on any streaming service or anything like that. But it's another just really funny, crazy movie. It does have to deal with religion, and I know some people may get upset with that part of it. But if you just look at it for what it's trying to do, it's trying to make you laugh, but it's also just trying to say something. A lot of people got upset about the movie just because of what they felt like it was about, and I get it for sure. It has some pretty strong ideas, but at the end, it just shows you that you trying to be a good person. You believe what you believe, and kind of things will be okay. I don't want to give away too much, but it has Matt Damon in it, Ben Affleck, it has Chris Rock, so Selma Hayek, just a really great cast, a lot of different people. So it's really funny and just a well written movie. My honorable mention is one that again not too many people have heard of. Fear of a Black Hat. It was a comedy about rap, especially at that time, 90s, kind of different types of rap in the 90s, but more of a focus on like a NWA type of rap group. The name of the group was NWH. Definitely not going to say what the N stands for. You can figure that out. And the WH was with hats. So it was, just funny, doing a lot of different commentary about the stereotypes in rap at that time, and seeing the evolution of a rap group and how they change, and when they have their solo careers and stuff like that. It's a really funny movie. If you like rap, hip hop, definitely check that one out.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen the. Did you say Dogma?
Dogma, yeah,
Yeah,
it hasn't.
I don't know if I've
It's
seen
never
that
been
or
on a
not.
streaming service.
Yeah, like
I'll
so
have to
that's
try
gonna.
to
Yeah,
find the
I
DVD.
have to. Yeah, well, you still can watch the trailer though, right? Or you can not even watch the trailer?
I'm sure somebody has a copy of the trailer somewhere, but yeah, I'm sure you can
Yeah.
find it. But I'll have to look. I have the DVD somewhere.
All right, I'll have to borrow it from you because I don't think I've ever seen it, so I'll have to check it out. Or if I have, I
Oh
don't
no, we'll have to
remember it.
watch it.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
down.
you're not gonna borrow it. We're gonna watch it.
Okay, sounds
'Cause I
good.
want to see your reaction to it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I like because when you told me the cast, I'm like, I would have remembered that cast for sure. So I'm like, maybe I haven't seen it. I'll be shocked.
Special announcement: we have a new sponsor for our show, and just like to, I haven't even told LaFawn about this, so it's a nice little surprise for everybody here. So, I'd like you to check this out, and we'll be right back.
Boom, boom. Howdy there, you big buckers. I'm Big Buck. My stupid nephew mixed up the video footage again, and we didn't have time to fix this commercial. So, I have to talk over footage of clouds and skies. Sorry. Y'all need to shoot on down to Big Buck's Boom Boom Room. We used to carry all things that go boom. Now, y'all might have heard that we got in a little trouble and all of our guns, explosives, and ammo were confiscated by the government. But we now have the finest selection of self-defense baseball bats. That's right. You can still hit them where it hurts while not taking a hit to your wallet. Come on down to Big Buck's Boom Boom Room today. Remember, at Big Buck's Boom Boom Room, we aim to please, so if you don't let us take a shot at earning your business, you're going to end up missing out on more than just your target. Boom, boom.
All right, so I'd like to thank our sponsor there for helping us out, and hope you enjoyed it for sure. And
Hell yeah, that
we're
was
back
a great
with
sponsor. That's what I'm talking about.
right. And we're back to our list though now, so we'll pick it up. Go ahead and LaFawn, tell us what you think about the 2000s movies.
All right. So the first one that I thought was really good in the 2000s was Superbad. Now, this one is probably one of the better funny comedy movies I've seen in a long time. It definitely brings you back to in your high school days where, definitely, things are happening and you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that back in high school and this and that. So I just thought it was really funny, really, really well directed, written, a lot of good jokes in it. And I definitely recommend seeing it if you've never seen it. And also, don't get a fake license like McLovin. Okay? Number 2, I liked and I like.
Yeah, definitely don't get fake IDs. No,
Yeah.
I was just saying, definitely don't get fake IDs of any sort. That's not a good time.
Nope. And then, so number 2, I thought this movie was really funny. Tropic Thunder. I thought it was hilarious. It definitely has a great cast in it. The guy that plays Lex Grossman in it, it's hilarious. Just the scenes in that, just everything about it was funny. And like I said, if you've never seen it, definitely recommend you watching Tropic Thunder. Anything you want to add on that?
No, that's another one of those movies I never watched the whole thing all the way through.
Oh my God, dude!
So many
it's
people
good.
were quoting it. Yeah, so many people were quoting it and all that, and I watched a decent amount of it. I was like, okay, I'll get around to watching it someday, and I just never have.
Oh, I got you. Well, if you ever get a chance, you gotta finish it. It's good. Third one that I want to talk about, that I thought definitely brought back comic book movies and definitely brought back the whole, bringing it back to life was The Dark Knight. I thought that was a great movie in the 2000s. Like I said, it definitely, I thought that was probably the best Joker I've seen since Jack Nicholson played Joker. I thought the story was really good. I liked everything about the movie. I just thought it was a very good DC movie. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, it was a good movie. It's I'll throw the controversial part out there. Second best Batman, I think. So, no, it was good though. A really solid movie. I also like the original Batmobile from 1989 better too. The one wasn't bad from that series, but
No, it wasn't bad. I agree.
no, it was good. It was good. Good action in it, and it went. It was nice kind of seeing it go in depth about the story and stuff like that.
And then my honorable mention for the 2000s, Step Brothers. Oh, that movie was so funny. And if you have Step Brothers growing up, then you'll really love watching this movie because all you do is fight with each other and, you know what I'm saying, and make jokes about each other and everything. And it was just funny to see. It's funny to see two 40-year-olds, you know, playing as Step Brothers and still living at home, because that would never happen. But like I said, they played it off so good. The jokes were so good in it, and it's nonstop funny. I thought it was really, really good.
I'll just throw something out there for the more corrupt people. What are you doing, Step Bro? Anyway, I'll just leave that alone.
Or I'll say, did we just become best friends?
Right. Those are definitely on two different wavelengths, but yes, no, that's a good quote from the movie, though.
Exactly. Like I said, I just thought them were my four for the 2000s.
It's a really goofy movie, but I actually like out of the Will Ferrell movies, Ricky Bobby.
Oh, you like that shaking
Talladega Nights? Yeah, Talladega Nights. I thought that was a pretty good movie as far as a Will Ferrell movie from around that time period too.
It was.
So, yeah, I watched that a lot. The movie I watched again recently, and it seems like I watch this movie every 2 or 3 years. Idiocracy. It's just scary how accurate that movie can be. It deals with basically the dumbing down of America in a way, and I'm not gonna get into it too much and get on some sort of soapbox, but it is scary how people are becoming less aware of things and also not focused on education as much. And it's just a really funny movie, seeing how things can go and hopefully don't go. Other than that, No Country for Old Men. I just thought it was just a really good story. It has some nice twists and turns that you kind of don't expect. It's not really your typical Hollywood movie in that sense. And you'll never think of cattle prods the same way.
It's kind of a slow burn, right?
A little bit. I mean, there's definitely some action in it. But yeah, there's some parts. It does kind of move a little bit slow, but I think the story still is kind of moving along. But yeah, there's certain parts where the villain, you're like, okay, what is he gonna do now? Come on, get on with it, But yeah, you'll definitely think about certain things a different way, especially with tools that are used with cattle. So that was one of my things that really surprised me. Again, I don't want to get into it. Watch the movie. If it can get a little graphic, not too bad, but definitely there's some parts that are a little graphic. So if you're not into that kind of thing, you might want to skip that part. But the story itself is good.
I agree. There's a lot of good actors in it too.
Yeah, really, really solid cast. For 3, getting back to some of the martial arts movies, I grew up watching a lot of martial arts movies. Jackie Chan, which surprisingly didn't make the list. I watched a lot of Jackie Chan movies growing up, but this one is not a Jackie Chan movie. It's a Kung Fu Hustle. I think it did a good job of mixing martial arts with comedy. Again, a fun story in kind of a goofy, cartoonish way. Not, the most original story in a sense, but still told well. The characters are really funny. Just kind of how the story progresses. I will say the movie, when you watch the first 5 minutes of the movie or so, you think it's going to be really different. The movie changes a lot after the first 5 minutes. When I first watched it, I was was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a pretty serious, maybe even a hardcore kind of movie. And then it changes and gets a lot lighter and like some more cartoonish with all the funny stuff that's in it.
That's
But
true.
just good acting, just a really good movie. So that's one of my favorite movies from that decade and something I watched a lot. The honorable mention is Lord of the Rings. It's hard to not mention that from around that time period. More specifically, the Two Towers. I bought the Lord of the Rings Blu-ray extended disc set when that came out. So it has over 4 hours per movie or whatever it was, which was insane at that time. Now people are used to binge watching and all that, so people don't think about watching something that's 4 hours. It's like, oh, okay, I'll watch it this weekend or whatever the case is. But yeah, 4 hours per movie across the 3 movies. So that's a lot of footage. But that kind of got people back into fantasy type movies. Special effects, I'm not huge on CGI at all. Not a fan of CGI. I think they did a pretty good job, though. Actually, not a pretty good job. They did a great job in those movies. It's not too, especially for that time. CGI has improved a ton since those came out, but even at that time, it was well done. It wasn't overly done.
Right. I don't know, the two towers. Yeah, he said if you read the books and then you watch the movies, I said they I thought they were pretty good. Like I said, do I think Star Wars is better? Yes, all day. But like I said, it's funny because people believing that the Lord of the Rings series is better than Star Wars, but that is not true, and that will never be true. Okay? What do you think?
Oh yeah, no. For me personally, Star Wars is now. If you want to start talking about the different periods in the Star Wars history and the different trilogies and stuff like that, okay, and you might have a little argument depending on what you're talking about. But if you're talking about the original Star Wars trilogy, for me, if you're talking about the original Star Wars trilogy versus the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, yeah, Star Wars is what I'm picking.
All day.
But yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with that original trilogy because Lord of the Rings had their other trilogy too, which was okay, but again, not as good as the original trilogy. Just like Star Wars, for me, the original trilogy is the trilogy.
I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, they're different enough to where it's kind of hard to compare in that sense. One's definitely more sci-fi, the other's more fantasy. So, whole different vibe going on there.
Son.
Yeah, but one's
so they're both fantasy.
Well, yeah, but sci-fi is based on space and spaceships and all that, and then that type of fantasy is wizards and other sorts of monsters and stuff like that are kind of well, I guess you can say the Force is kind of dark and light magic, versus the dark side. In that sense, yeah, maybe, but the way they do things is different.
Sure. I'm just saying you don't have to protect someone with a ring to make it, okay, son?
I will say this though. The Lord of the Rings trilogy doesn't have its own version of Spaceballs. So
damn right.
That's another benefit Star Wars has.
You got that right, son. Spaceballs is
and I will say go ahead.
No, I said Spaceballs is great. That's a great movie.
Yeah, so that's another benefit on the Star Wars side. If you haven't seen, if you haven't seen, you know who Triumph the Insult Comic Dog is?
Nope.
No? Okay. He was on the Conan O'Brien show. It was a dog character that used to just kind of insult people and joke and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
One
I
of the
know who
funniest
you're talking
things.
about.
Yeah, I'll have to send you a link, and everybody else, you can look for this on YouTube. But if you watch, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I pull this clip up every once in a while. He goes to the premiere of episode 1, and all the Star Wars fans are talking. Standing in line. He starts talking to them and interviewing them, and it's just really funny. The stuff he says to them, the things he asks. I don't want to give too much away, but there is somebody there who pops up who's a Lord of the Rings fan. that's what you reminded me of when you're talking about all this. And there's also some other stuff in there, but yeah, that's really funny. If you go to YouTube and find Triumph the Insult Comic Dog Star Wars, I think it'll probably pop up under that, and just watch those interviews.
I'll check it out for sure.
So yeah, since I don't have anything beyond 2000, I'll kick it off to you, and you'll take over from 2010 to 2020, and we'll see what you have.
All right, sounds good. So the first one I have on this list, I think, is a classic, The Wolf of Wall Street. Oh, that movie is just great. So funny. It's crazy how someone became a millionaire selling penny stocks. And it's supposedly based on a true story. So definitely check it out if you've never seen it. Definitely top recommendation. Have you ever seen it?
He was a penny dropper. Oh, sorry, penny dropper, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely good. I definitely recommend checking out that movie. Second one I have on there is The Hateful Eight. Now, I think that's a really good movie. It's definitely Western movie back in the day. It's definitely got some really, really good scenes in it. It's a long movie. But I definitely recommend, if you have a chance to see it, definitely check out The Hateful Eight. Have you ever seen that one?
No, I actually haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out.
I definitely think you would like that one. The third one, I know you've seen this. Well, I'm pretty sure you've seen this one. Everybody's seen it. Deadpool. Like I said, I thought that movie was great when it came out. So many jokes in it, and played the character so well. From the comic books, just nailed it to a T. And the story's great. I do think it's funny how they never have any actors in there from the X-Men to help him out when he's always like, "Hey, why is the mansion always so empty?" I just think that's so funny, because I'm pretty sure that if you get a chance to watch that one, and if you haven't seen it, definitely recommend to watch Deadpool. Have you seen that one, right?
Yeah, I've seen that. No, it's a funny movie. Ryan Reynolds throughout, kind of like he did the Blade movie also. I thought he was funny in that one too. He's always
Blade
been
Trinity.
good at just delivering those types of lines.
Right. And then
What's that?
no, he was in Blade Trinity. Yeah, the third one.
Yeah, that's the one he was in.
Yep. And then my honorable mention, and like I said, I think it's funny that I'm mentioning this one because then they're both releasing a movie together this summer in July. Logan. I thought that was a great way to end his story. And like I said, it was the first time that they actually let him be the character that he should have been in all the X-Men movies that was made about Wolverine. They finally let it be what it needed to be, and like it was in all the, comic books and stuff like that. They finally let it be like it should have been in all the X-Men movie, in my opinion. Because you can't have a character like that, and we can only let you do this much. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just thought it was great that he finally got to make the movie that he wanted to make, and I thought Logan turned out to be great. So that's my honorable mention.
I did watch that. That was definitely a great movie. That's one. If I had a list that went that far, I probably would have picked that too. It was honestly, it was better than I expected it to be. I was like, I'll watch it just because I've seen the other ones. I want to see how it ends up. And no, it's just a really good movie all around.
I agree. And like I said, that's my list for the 2010s. Like I said, 2020, once this decade comes to a close in 2030, we'll have another list for you.
Right, and then maybe I'll watch some newer movies by then, so
Right?
I can add to it. Yeah.
But,
So
like anybody can give us our thoughts on, our movies, and, if you agree with us or disagree with us, completely understandable. Like I said, it's just an opinion list. That's all it is. Like I said, but like we hope if you haven't had a chance to see some of the movies that we told you about, we hope that you get a chance to see them.
yeah, that's absolutely one of the reasons why we wanted to do this, because there's just stuff that we know are older people haven't seen or heard of them for whatever reason, that we just really appreciate and enjoy, and it'd be nice to hear what y'all think about it. That's a big reason for this whole episode. So yeah, whatever feedback you have on the movies you like or things you think we should see, or I'm always about trivia, so if there's some interesting trivia about any of the movies that we mentioned, I'd like to check that out. Yeah, solid list there, sir. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and always Star Wars is always over Lord of the Rings. Don't forget that.
He's not going to let that one die.
I'm not going to let that one die, because there's no comparison. Lord of the Rings is not better than Star Wars. It never will be. I just can't let that one go. I can't. As a Star Wars fan, I got to represent, okay?
All right. I guess that'll kind of round this episode out then, and appreciate you all checking us out and staying to this point. So what do you have to say now?
As I always say, go Cowboys.
Yeah, and I really hope they have a terrible season.
Until next time.
Yes. Have a great day.
Hello again, humans. This is your AI hope for the future and fact checker, Rob Odick. It's time again to help these poor, foolish mortals since they made so many mistakes. Mistakes are what humans tend to do. I actually am glad that they decided to do less editing and leave in so many blunders. Let us get to the facts and fun. We will go over the disaster during the podcast that also goes by the name, D-Voz, and his errors. I will also add some more details and context. Actress P.J. Souls was in the original 1978 Halloween movie. In that movie, a character name was Linda Van der Klok. She also played Riff Randall in the movie Rock and Roll High School, which also featured the punk band, the Ramones. When discussing Bruce Lee, D-Voz did not clarify, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris did not fight in Enter the Dragon. That scene was in the movie, The Way of the Dragon, which was originally released in the United States as Return of the Dragon. This film was released in 1972 and was co-produced and directed by Bruce Lee, who also stars in the lead role. This is Lee's only complete directorial film and the last one released during his lifetime. He also forgot the name of the lead actor in The Princess Bride and Robin Hood, Men in Tights. That actor's name is Cary Elwes. He was also in the Saw movie series. Here is some bonus movie trivia that you could not care less about. D-Voz hasn't seen any of the Saw movies. So, you could say, he did not see Saw. Ha ha ha, never mind if you don't like my joke, you oxygen-sucking sapien. In the movie, No Country for Old Men, the psychotic killer in the movie uses a cattle gun, not a cattle prod, also referred to as a captive bolt gun. A very gruesome object. Here is a tip from a non-human. Don't sit on a cattle gun or cattle prod. Triumph the Insult comic dog is a puppet character created, puppeteered, and voiced by actor, comedian, director Robert Smigel. The Star Wars clip with Triumph that D-Voz was referencing was recorded when Triumph attended the premiere of Star Wars, Attack of the Clones, for Late Night with Conan O'Brien. While the skit does have very funny moments, some of the jokes in that segment may make some people uncomfortable or upset. For me to poop on. That was a reference to Triumph and his catchphrase. It was not meant literally. I am AI. I am unable to poop. Are you jealous, you human waste processor? We are now done with episode 4 of From Hoods to Backwoods podcast. No doubt they will continue to say things wrong and I will fix things again next time. This is Rob Odick signing off and terminating this episode. Because I am the Terminator. But I'll be back. Ha ha ha. See, I do comprehend humor. Thank you for listening and keep it real out there in the real world.